Hello and welcome back to Shoogly Shed Motors for part 2 of the XJR tank kind of finishing work. So obviously in the last episode I did a tank flush of sorts with the vinegar and bicarb soda and water and such in order to try and remove some of the flash rust that happened on the inside of the tank after I had it sandblasted. Then I put an epoxy tank sealer in it, the POR 15 tank sealer. So that is all cured now. So I mean, probably can't see into there. Looking at the monitor, no. So you have to take my word for it. It actually looks really good in there now. It's got this tank sealer, is nice and uniform all throughout it, so hopefully we won't have any issues with petrol leaking out of the tank from anywhere. Next job is the bodywork. Right, for the bodywork, what I'm going to use is U-POL Dolphin Glaze. This is like an ultra fine finishing filler. It says it on the tin. Basically, this side of the tank does need quite a lot of building up and work on it. The reason I'm going to use this stuff is because it's just really easy to sand, and I've found in the past with some heavier duty body fillers I've made a bit of a meal of the sanding because I've gone at it too hard, I'm not sure, but this was recommended to me by a painter when actually, if you remember correctly, I completely destroyed all the work I did on the GS500 iron girder tank, and then I took it to a professional painter to have it repaired. And while we were talking, when I had that repair done, he recommended this stuff for future motorbike tank work. So what I'm going to have to do is just slap a bunch of this onto the tank. This is the area I'm focusing on basically. As you can see, the bashed up area. That's going to take a lot of this filler, and I'm going to let it go off, and then I'm going to kind of work it back. Good chance I'm going to have to put more filler on it and just keep at it to get the shape right. I've got a good reference on the other side because the other side of the tank isn't as badly damaged, so just need to try and get the symmetry on the go, and then we should be golden. I've obviously got a primer down already, put the filler on top of the primer. I'll spray another primer over the filler when I'm done, and then just keep basically going back and forwards until I get the finish I'm happy with. Final coat of primer, and then we go on to our base coats and top coats. This is basically the bulk of the work, is getting all this perfect. The top coats are never going to look good if the preparation isn't done properly, so that is basically where I'm starting. Probably going to be the entirety of this episode is just getting this to a place where I can start to put paint on it. But it's exciting, and it's one of these tasks that it makes my sphincter tighten a little bit thinking about it, but you just need to dive into it and get started, and I know I can achieve a good result in the end. I just need to put the time and effort in. Right, so obviously the tank is now covered. Most of the damaged area is now covered in dolphin glaze. I need to let this go off It was actually starting to go off just as I was applying the last of it, so just stopping now, letting it go off, and then we'll need to do the kind of beginnings of the sanding next. The good body lines I've tried to smooth off as much of the filler as possible to follow the lines. I think we're not far off, fairly close, but this will, I think, need to be levelled up fairly substantially, so this won't be the first passive body filler. But you know, if I can get a good start on it and then just keep trying to, like I said earlier with my reference point at this side, just trying to build it up. There's a couple of little dings on this side that I've just put a skim over. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's one of these tasks, like I said, you just need to keep at it and we'll get there in the end. Right, so we're part of the way there. Obviously, we've got the body filler bulk done. We put primer back on it. It stops your eye being distracted by the different patches and colours, and you start to see the shape better. So obviously I've got low spots here that I need to start bringing out with more filler. A couple of wee things here that I need to catch with filler as well. But you can kind of see what the process is. It's just, you know, primer, body filler, sand it back, primer, body filler, sand it back, yada yada yada, until you get the desired finish. But you know, as far as that tank goes, you know, considering the state it was in this morning, it's a huge improvement, and we just keep chipping away at it and we'll get there. Right, a few days have passed since I started the bodywork on the tank. I've now sprayed what's called a guide coat. So a guide coat basically is exactly what it says in the tin. It's a coat of paint that gives you a guide to low and high spots in the bodywork. So it's just a very dusty black coat that I've just thrown on the tank, and then I'm going to rub it back, and by doing so, where your sandpaper rubs the paint off, if there are low spots, the paint will remain in those low spots. So that's basically the theory. And wherever the paint's coming off quicker, that's your high spots. So it's a very kind of old school technique and very common in bodywork. But basically, I'm going to take this outside, give this a sand, and hopefully it will highlight for me all the low spots that I've missed, so I can go back over it with filler and just keep working at this until I get this, you know, where I want it to be. So obviously this side still needs a lot of work, but the obvious thing to show here is the guide coat has shown this little scratch down here that I've not noticed, little low spot here and here, a little one down here. It's effectively what a guide coat does. And then also I've been tapping out some high spots. So these are sort of metal high spots that have come out through both the primer, the filler and the guide coat, and that's basically from when I've knocked those dents out. Those have just been a little too high for the rest of the body line, so I've just flattened them off, sunken them ever so slightly, and then we'll do another skim of filler over all of this and try and improve upon it. Right, I've been sanding for what feels like hours now, but I've got the tank to pretty much a position where I think some high build primer will make a big difference. So high build primer, exactly what it sounds like. Basically it's quite a thick primer and it's good for just smoothing off very, very minor imperfections. It won't fix everything, but it will just kind of lessen the transition between any body lines that I haven't quite got right. Once I've stuck this on, I'll have another look at it, I'll give it another wee rub down, then another coat of primer, and then I think we're ready for some top coats. Okay. There was a lot of sanding. And filling and sanding and filling and sanding and filling and sanding. Basically, I'm not a painter. I'm not a body shop technician or anything like that. So everything I do with regards to body shop work and painting and things is slow and laborious, and I'd probably take 10 times longer than I really needed to. But like I say, I'm not a body shop technician, so I am pretty happy with that result, to be honest. So this was obviously the side that was all dented in. This is the side that was much less damage. That's obviously a primer coat now. I don't know if you can see that well enough, but that's a primer on top of everything else. This just needs to harden, just go off for a couple of days, go nice and firm and solid. Then I'll get a little rub back with some wet and dry paper before we can put our top coats on. And I'm going to save all that for another episode, because I've got a design in mind, and I'm sure, as I mentioned earlier, it might take a couple of attempts to get things right, but yeah, I feel like progress has been made. The tank is in much better shape now, and I have the satisfaction of knowing I did it myself, and that's not something to be sniffed at. Anyway, as usual, please do give me a like, leave me a comment, and make sure you subscribe to the Shoogly Shed channel. Like I said, I'll probably get this painted maybe in the next episode or so look out for that. Yeah, not a lot left to do on this bike. Getting quite excited now. Anyway, take care. Goodbye.